So it wasn't quite Inter 4, Barcelona 3, but this second leg of PSG versus Arsenal was still a pretty good game, and I really enjoyed it. I think this tie, from a technical level, was extremely high. I'm going to give you guys my quick game recap, and then I have some talking points near the end. This is going to be a shorter video because your boy doesn't have a lot of time today, so I'm going to make this as concise as I can. If you guys want a more flushed out, rant or opinion style video about any subtopics, let me know in the comments. Hey, Jack, what do you think about X? And then I can promise that we have other Champions League videos dropping here on Deadball TV soon, so hit subscribe for those. Those are going to be more storyline. Let's talk about Luis Enrique. Let's talk about Arteta. Let's talk about the Ballon d'Or race. Let's talk about what's at stake in the final. Let's talk about who the biggest winners and losers were in the semi. So those are going to be separate vids. I probably have 10 minutes today to bang this video out, so now's not the time. Let's start with the game recap, all right? If you had only watched the first 10 minutes of this game, and then, I don't know, you got called into a business meeting or something and you had to miss the rest, you probably would have thought Arsenal won 4-0 today, because Arsenal had 3 incredible chances in the first 7 minutes of the game. You had the Declan Rice header over Marquinhos, you had the Martinelli chance off a long throw, and then the Odegaard shot that Donnarumma somehow saves. And I'm really not trying to be hyperbolic. I think it's one of the best saves he's ever made. It really was a mind-blowing save from Donnarumma, who continues to be completely irreplaceable for PSG during this Champions League campaign. But despite the quality of the chances, it was still 0-0. And I felt like Arsenal just had PSG pinned back and they were dominating up until Kvaratskhelia had a shot off the post. I think that was minute 16. After that, it started to be a little bit more even. And then we have the Fabian Ruiz golazo in the 26th minute. This guy doesn't score a lot of goals, but I feel like when he does, it's a banger every single time. Literally a minute or two after this, he starts a fast break, passes up to Kvara. Kvara passes it to Doué. Doué has a one-on-one, and he misses. And that was kind of a theme for PSG, right? We're going to get into some talking points later, but anybody acting like PSG were unbelievably clinical in this game or in this tie, that's not technically correct. Like, did they score some bangers? Did they score some goals that, right, the XG merchants will say it was 0.02? Sure. But they also missed plenty of shots where the XG was probably 0.5 or better. So I think it goes both ways. After the Fabian Ruiz goal and going into the second half, I feel like PSG had most of the control until Arsenal scored. Once Arsenal scored, there was a brief moment where it felt like a remontada was a possibility. And there's a moment in the game shortly after Saka's goal where a cross from Calafiori comes in. And again, it's Saka in the box, and Donnarumma dives for it, and the ball goes under him. And I don't think Saka knows that the ball is going to reach him. I think he's assuming Donnarumma makes the save. Regardless, it's a really difficult path of the ball to watch because it dips beneath the goalkeeper and then just pops up at your feet. Either way, I think it hits Saka's heel or like the top of his, not his heel, but the top of his ankle, goes above the net. That would have made it 2-2 in the tie. And who knows what would have happened after that. If you want to analyze the match in hindsight, you look at that Saka miss and you say that was our moment. If you're an Arsenal fan, Arsenal don't get another look that is that good the rest of the match. PSG start to grow back into it. Hakimi scores a banger, and after that point, it really only looked like PSG were going to be the side to win. So the match ends and it's 3-1 on aggregate, and here comes the Champions League final. Now, there are a lot of talking points from this game, but I'm going to focus on a couple in particular, and again, more videos dropping soon, so hit subscribe for that. First off, Mikel Arteta. I think, before you say any criticism, you have to give him an Arsenal credit for getting here. You have to give them credit for beating Real Madrid, which I gave them plenty of credit here on the channel, despite not particularly being a fan of Arsenal Football Club. That is still an achievement. And even though Arsenal lost to PSG, they were not embarrassed. I don't think they looked fraudulent. I don't think they were trash. I don't think that you can walk away and be like, oh my God, look at Arsenal. They are a banter club. They lost. They were defeated. They were beaten by a better team. I think Arteta was beaten by a better manager. It is what it is, folks. You can't win them all. Now, if you want to talk about his comments after the game, talking about we are clearly the best team in this competition, straight cheese, bro. It's not true. I think even Arsenal fans can probably understand that's objectively false. I feel like Arteta is really good at looking at what could have been positively, but only with his team, right? It's like he looks back at the match and he looks at the XG, and again, XG merchants, here we come, and he's like, look, we should have won. We should have scored more goals. Okay, bro. I'll grant you that. I will grant you that Arsenal probably deserved, not even probably, they deserved more than one goal in this tie, right? You lost 3-1 on Ag. You probably should have scored 2 or 3 goals in this tie. Now, the reason that I think that's a moot point, and who gives a damn, is because if you look at PSG, they deserved way more goals too. I got some of them written down. There's a penalty miss in this game, first off, and it is a clear pen. It's a handball in the box. I can't remember if it's Timber or Lewis Skelly. It doesn't matter. Hakimi earns it. More on him later. And Vitinha misses, right? So if we're going to call it, should have been 3-3 on aggregate, right? Let's factor in some of Arsenal's good misses. Should have been 3-3. I'll even give you 4, bro. Let's make it 4-3. I'll say Arsenal should be winning 4-3 on aggregate. Now let's go through the PSG misses. Okay, they miss a penalty. You got to score your penalties. Now it's 4-4. How about the Barcola miss in the first leg at the end of the game, which really should have killed the tie, where he doesn't even put it on frame? That should have been a goal. 5-4 to PSG. How about the Doué miss from the Kvaratskhelia Fabian Ruiz counterattack this game? He's one-on-one. Should have scored that. Okay, we're up to 6-4 PSG. How about Kvara hitting the post? Are we going to say that should have gone in? I don't know. I don't know if we want to be optimistic and be generous with it. Sure. All right. So we're up to, what is that? I can't even do math. I'm talking too much. 7-4 PSG. And that's why I don't like these conversations where after the fact we're like, man, we deserved more. Yeah, bro, you probably did. But so did the other team. And the other team, if everybody got what they deserved, PSG are winning this 1-7-4 on Ag. So what are we even talking about here? And again, there's no shame in this. I've said it 100 times. I don't know how many people agreed with me when the fixture was announced and we knew it was going to be Arsenal versus PSG, but PSG were always the favorites. They were always the favorites. And for me, they were pretty heavy favorites. I think I said they were going to win 4-2 on Ag. I don't think Arsenal, outside of some moments of magic like what we saw with Declan Rice again, set piece mastery, I don't really think there was a world where they were going to outscore PSG. I thought they could maybe get a couple, but I didn't think they were going to stop this PSG team. And I think part of that is a consequence of exactly what I said was going to happen. Because you take down Real Madrid, who are the big bad, they're the Empire in Star Wars. Everybody wants to beat them in the Champions League. And that, let me be clear, that was an achievement for Arsenal. I'm not trying to diminish that. But this is not a good Madrid side. And I had a feeling that that was going to inflate everybody's expectations about what Arsenal was going to do. Y'all, PSG are the best team in Europe. They have been the best team in Europe, if you don't want to say the whole season, since 2025. So Arsenal, with the omissions, no doubt, how were they ever going to be considered the favorite? And if they're not considered the favorite, how can you consider this a failure? I really think it was job well done for Arsenal. I just think PSG are cracked out. I really just think that's what it is. They have an amazing midfield that knows how to work together. Their backline is great. Their goalkeeper has been performing as the best goalkeeper in the Champions League. You do not win the Champions League without an amazing goalkeeper. And their attack is complete beast mode, right? So, yeah, Arsenal lose in a valiant fashion. It is what it is, but let's not make up stories, okay? Moving on to the next storyline, Donnarumma, very quickly. He has been, like I said, the best goalkeeper in the Champions League. I am going to have to upload a 30-minute rant video on the channel when the Ballon d'Or rankings come out if I do not see Donnarumma as the number 1 ranked goalkeeper, because that will be the most embarrassing thing for an award that is already becoming the equivalent of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. It is a Mickey Mouse award, and the only thing that could make it more Disneyland is if somebody like Alisson or somebody like David Raya, who are great goalkeepers, and if you want to say better careers, well, you can't say that with Raya, but if you want to say better career, Alisson, sure, I'll give you that. But the Ballon d'Ors for this season, and there is no goalkeeper this season who has been more vital to their team's success than Donnarumma. And yes, I'm including Jan Sommer in that, who is out of his mind against Barcelona. But Donnarumma has been out of his mind for what? 6 Champions League knockout games in a row? More respect, please. That's all I'm saying. Moving on, next up, Achraf Hakimi. This was a redemption game for the Moroccan fullback. I have him, I think, as my top defender in the Ballon d'Or rankings. Maybe I had him behind Bastoni, which I think hopefully people can understand my logic there. He was not very good in the first leg against Arsenal. I was critical of him, despite me being a massive fan of him as a player. He was much better today. I think there were a few times Martinelli got the better of him, but he wins the penalty, scored a banger, and in most of his one-on-one duels, I feel like he got the better of Martinelli. And honestly, without having the double team and triple team support that Mendes had against Saka on the other side, a lot of Hakimi's duels were one-on-one, and I thought he did really well. Similar to what I said about Donnarumma, if Achraf Hakimi is not in your top 10 for Ballon d'Or, I do not know what to say to you. I don't. Like, if you have an Arsenal player even above Achraf Hakimi, even that, I feel like that's a hot take at this point. Anyways, we don't have time for that. I got to really wrap this up soon. Next up, William Pacho. Bro, such a beast. I think he's the second ever Ecuadorian to play in a Champions League final. I think Antonio Valencia did it with Manchester United. I think he did it with Man U. Somebody check me in the comments. But this man, my guy, bro, y'all know I love Pacho. He has to visit a witch doctor immediately, because this is the third goal in 4 games that have like deflected off of him. I mean, I guess you give him credit for his defensive positioning. He's always in the right place at the right time, right? But you had the 2 goals against Aston Villa, which both deflected off of him. And then you have Saka's goal here yesterday, where I think it bounces off his stomach or something, dips down, drops to Saka. I think he beats Marquinhos, although I don't know how Marquinhos could have defended that better than what he did. And Saka scores, man. But, I mean, as soon as Pacho just gets that juju off of him, like, go do a juice cleanse, smoothie cleanse, something like that. Like, he's got some toxin in his body that's just attracting these rebound goals off of him. And we cannot afford that in the Champions League final. So he needs to get to a witch doctor immediately. Barcola, I got one note. Maybe take a vacation to Texas, learn how to shoot before the Champions League final. My word. This guy's good, but I mean, if you guys watch La Liga, he's on that like Abde watch from Real Betis, just like dribble merchant, no end product whatsoever. Bro, if this man could shoot, then I don't even think Arteta can come out and say we were the better team, because Barcola probably would have had 2 goals in this tie, and that would be that, right? And we'd all be sitting here like, wow, PSG are about to stomp Inter. That's what everybody would be saying, and there'd be huge, huge pressure on them to perform. But instead, the guy can't shoot at all, and kind of his misses kept Arsenal's hopes alive in the tie, and it nearly, and I'm talking like by inches at some point, nearly cost the team. From the Arsenal perspective, Declan Rice, I feel like he was pretty good again. I saw him getting slandered online. I really didn't understand that. I thought he was quite good. He had that one tackle on Doué, I think, that saved a goal, right? So I don't know. I didn't really understand the Declan Rice. That was just a little footnote I had here. Last thing I want to say, Vitinha. I don't want to end it. I'm ending this video on a negative note, and I apologize for that. But I don't see how he can win the Ballon d'Or, y'all. I don't see how he can win the Ballon d'Or. I don't know how you could say that he was better than João Neves in this tie. I think Neves has been unbelievable. Him and Ruiz as well. They all have like different roles, right, inside of the PSG midfield. But I felt like against Arsenal in this second leg, and really against both legs against Arsenal, where Arsenal had more of the possession than Aston Villa, who pretty much sat back for 90 minutes of the Parc des Princes and kind of had to attack back at Villa Park. Neves was a dog, man. And I just don't see it with Vitinha, right? I think the football data analytics guys have wet dreams about Vitinha's numbers and his progressive passing stats and all that every single night. It must be exhausting. But the eye test, man, I think he's had a great season. I think technically he's as gifted as maybe every midfielder in the world, barring a handful, right? But I don't see Ballon d'Or, man. I really don't see Ballon d'Or. To me, this feels like a forced narrative. I don't understand how he could even be the front runner on his own team. I don't. If you want to talk about Dembele later, we can. I don't have time now, but, PSG got the job done with him coming on as a sub, right? So does that knock him down in the rankings? I think that would be super harsh. But I absolutely would have Dembele over Vitinha in the Ballon d'Or ranking. And I don't understand why Neves is not getting more shouts. I don't know why Fabian Ruiz isn't getting more shouts. I don't know why Hakimi is not getting more shouts. I don't know why it's just Vitinha. He got man of the match in the first leg. That was a joke. He was nowhere near PSG's best player. And I think today, or last night against Arsenal, again, the 3rd best midfielder for PSG. Not a bad game. He's a great player. I'm really not trying to say he sucks. So I'm sure people will interpret it as such, but he's good. He's really freaking good. But ain't no way he's the Ballon d'Or. No way he's the Ballon d'Or, and no way he's ranked above Pedri in the Ballon d'Or, right? Because there's that little battle right here, Vitinha versus Pedri. If you guys disagree, let me know in the comments, but I don't know how somebody can watch both of these guys this season and tell me that Vitinha is better. I don't see it, and I don't like Barcelona. I'm an Atletico Madrid fan. I do not like Barcelona, right? Like, I don't want to be saying these things. But if I put my hater hat, if I take it off and I put it on the table, I just think Pedri's had a better season. And I think if you're going to give the Ballon d'Or to somebody on PSG, and somebody on PSG should probably win the Ballon d'Or if they win the Champions League final. There's even arguments if they lose. But it cannot be Vitinha, in my opinion. I think we're over flattering the player in his performances, especially near the end of the season where it matters most. But anyways, those are just the rambling thoughts of a madman. I gotta go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, more flushed out, long form content will be dropping on the channel, recapping the Champions League soon, but I did not have time for that today. If you guys have anything specifically you want me to discuss in a shorter form video, kind of a one-off, let me know in the comments. If it gets a lot of upvotes or if I think it's interesting, I'll make a video about it. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.